Welcome to the Series Sweep podcast, where I'm recapping each and every single Dodgers series for the 2020 season. You can find me, Eric Yulo, on Twitter at EEULAU. You can find me on the same handle for Instagram. You can find the Series Sweep YouTube channel under the Series Sweep. Shocker, I know. This podcast officially sponsored by Coffee Today. Took the red eye back, was taking care of some family stuff, was in Hawaii for about 28 hours. Taking care of some things. Took the red eye back. Don't sleep well on planes. Who does? About 2 pints of coffee deep, but you got to power through. You can't be saying you recap each and every single series if you're just going to take one off because you're a little bit tired. So I'm rallying here. I'm here for the Dodgers. I'm here for you guys, getting you caught up in case you missed a game. 2 games, the whole series. Just want to learn a little bit more about the Dodgers. Always check out the Series Sweep. Please give us a subscribe when you can. Give me a shout out on Twitter or follow me on Twitter. I'll be posting them there as well. You can also find it on Spotify and SoundCloud. So let's get into it. The Dodgers take 2 of 3 against the Texas Rangers in Dallas at the brand new Globe Life Park. No longer the outdoor Great American Launching Pad, their previous stadium. Still pretty hitter-friendly, but not what it used to be. The Dodgers dropped the first game 6-2, mostly on the bullpen. Dustin May, I think I've said this the last 3 times, he's looked okay. I think we haven't seen his best stuff. I think you see that with the low strikeout rate. His last couple outings didn't have his best stuff, but I thought he pitched good enough to get the win. But Jake McGee, the lefty who just pumps fastballs, nothing but fastballs. I think he's fastballs like 85, 90, maybe even like 94% of the time he's throwing the fastball. It was going to catch up to him. There's a reason he's been on so many different teams. It finally did. He gave up 4 earned, and the Dodgers just couldn't come back from it. However, the Rangers' 21-year-old kid, Leody Taveras, had just an absolutely incredible play against Justin Turner. So Turner cranks it, gets that back foot. He always kind of seems to strike a pose. You're like, oh, it's a home run. Oh, sweet baby Rays, haven't had barbecue sauce in a while. Great catch right over the fence. And look, it's a good catch. It robs a home run. Not disputing that. The way the announcers lost their minds for this guy. Yeah, you're going to watch it yourself on the Jumbotron. Awesome. You're great. I mean, look how low this fence is. And I'm not saying I could do this. I'm not one of those guys. But he's jumping like, what is that, a 7-foot fence? And we're acting like he Spider-Man'd up the green monster. I mean, it's a great catch. It's an out. Turner gives him props. Big smile on his face. Great catch from the kid. But I wish we'd stop pretending like these super short fence catches are just some incredible feat of athleticism. It's hard. It's not the hardest outfield. You're not scaling up the Dodger Stadium wall or plenty of other outfield walls that are a lot higher than that. He hopped. It was like a 1-foot hop. So let's not get too crazy about that catch, but still a hell of a catch. The Dodgers just couldn't get anything going with runners in scoring position. They were between Bellinger, Turner, and Betts. They were 1 for 7 in runners in scoring position. As a team that game for Game 1, that lost Friday night with Dustin May on the bump, they were 2 for 12. And kind of a startling trend that's becoming more and more of a thing for this team is struggling against these. I mean, Minor had a really good year last year, but some of these more middle-of-the-road starting pitchers, some of these soft tossers, especially lefties, the Dodgers just continually struggle against. Logan Webb comes to mind from the Giants. There's a couple of times where they just don't take care of business against some of these starting pitchers who are low-velocity guys. And when you're a fastball-hitting team, you're going to see teams trot out these off-speed breaking ball guys. And credit to them, they had a great game plan for Game 1. That Taveras catch was awesome, and Jake McGee finally gets what was probably coming to him, throwing 99.99999% fastballs in the major leagues. The other big news, unfortunately, does involve Justin Turner, and for a wrong reason. He pulled a hamstring, stealing second. He was out for the rest of the series. We'll cycle back to that as it relates to the injury report and also as it relates to Gavin Lux getting called up and getting some more playing time in this series. Game 2, 7-4 win. Probably the most satisfying, I would say, of the wins, and just because of who put the Dodgers ahead, how that person did it, and that is the one and only Max Muncy. Muncy, who, as we all know, started out ice cold. His OPS is over 1,000. for his last 7 games. Bellinger is right around there. I think he's just a few points below 1,000. But both Max Muncy and Cody Bellinger are trending up. And it's exactly what you needed with Turner, who's maybe out for a couple of days, maybe out for a week, who knows. But it was great to see both those guys get going during Game 2. Game 2 was Ross Stripling versus Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, a veteran guy, a guy with a beautiful giant beard, but who's all over the trade deadline rumors, which the trade deadline was today for baseball. It comes up pretty fast when you're only playing 60 games. But Lance Lynn did not get dealt, even though the Dodgers, oddly enough, were rumored to be in the mix for Lance Lynn. But anyway, he pitched that Game 2 against Ross Stripling. Stripling, the velocity looked good. He was pitching 95 miles an hour, looking good. Just the location wasn't there. And it's a great example of just because you raise your velocity a little bit versus last year, it can't solve the problem of control. And Ross Stripling gave up back-to-back home runs to the 8 and 9 hitters of the Rangers, 2 kids, Guzman and Taveras. Don't worry, Taveras' name will keep coming up here. Not a great look for Ross. Another bad start, and now that giant start to start the season, in that opening series against the Giants just feels like a lifetime ago. And that was a big reason I think that Ross Stripling got traded today to the Blue Jays for 2 players to be named later. And I think it was just the end of the line for him. They gave him the opportunity to start, and he deserved that opportunity. I think they gave him plenty of starts, maybe 1 or 2 more than he probably should have gotten, but with the Walker Buehler injury, them cycling some guys up and down, too many bullpen games, the writing was on the wall for Stripling. The Dodgers weren't going to re-sign him, which is why they traded him for 2 people who haven't even decided what people they are yet. Player to be named later, everyone's favorite acronym. PTBNL. There we go. Did I get it? Hold on, I wrote it down for this exact moment. PTBNL. Yes, got it. Sponsored by Coffee, baby. End of the line for Ross. Love what he did for the Dodgers. Never really realized his full potential, but I think part of the reason he didn't is because how he handled him. And teams tell you what they think about players, not so much in the draft for baseball, but obviously how they're slotting them in the rotation, how they're handling them, the matchups they're giving them. And the trade just tells you the Dodgers think they know what Stripling is, that he's a fringe starter in the majors, could be a average to above average reliever, and they'd rather give the time to Tony Gonsolin, who pitched Game 3 in that 7-2 win. The writing was on the wall. I'll say it again, and I won't say it one more time. Unfortunate. I was a big Ross Stripling fan. Veteran guy, smart guy. Loved his podcast. He had his chance. He didn't perform. And at the end of the day, no matter how good of a guy you are or how smart you are or how many stocks you trade if you're Ross Stripling, the output and performance needs to be there, especially with a team with championship aspirations like the Dodgers. And he's going to a team, the Blue Jays, who are in the playoff hunt, but clearly have a completely different set of expectations. Now let's get back to that Game 2 that Stripling pitched. Dodgers are up 4-3, and you got to see something that was just beautiful. And that was Max Muncy just leveling a pitch that was inside, and it's a sign to me that Max Muncy is getting back to where he has been the last 2 years. And if you look at the location, I know we always talk about location, low and away, maybe middle in, middle low. But Muncy, rather than fouling this off, just cranks it. I mean, it's a no-doubt home run. You can tell by Muncy's body language that it's gone. I think it's cute. See, that's a real outfield wall. That is a legitimate outfield wall. There's no way to catch that, but if he had caught that. And that was in the 7th inning. That was a 3-run shot. And the reason I love this home run, too, is in the top of the 5th, Muncy hit one to right center that Gallo caught, a near home run, maybe just a couple feet short. And it was great to see him come right back and just absolutely crank one. Muncy's heating up. Bellinger's heating up, and that's when the offense is looking at its best. Watch it one more time. Boom! And he knows. He knows. He always brings his hands down. He stares at it probably a little longer than you might want to, but Muncy's kind of a cocky guy. But hey, you would be too if you got left for dead and then made an all-star team and hit 35 home runs in back-to-back years. So shout out to Muncy. Shout out to having a real outfield fence. Let's get back to the stats. So Game 3 Oh, sorry, my last programming note. My apologies. Sponsored by coffee. Kenley Jansen got up to 94 miles an hour to close out Game 2 to get his 9th save of the season. Encouraging stuff. But with Kenley, he just kind of oscillates. He has 2 good performances, and then he has one kind of disaster. Then he has 3 good ones, and then has one okay one. He's not coming back. He's to his prime form. But if he can pitch effectively and mix in his slider a little bit and get that 2-seamer over and avoid that hard contact, avoid those home runs, which he's done a good job of doing so far, he can still be a very serviceable closer. And because of the way the rest of this bullpen's performed, I think we can still get it done and still get to where we want to be, which is the winning the championship with Kenley Jansen. And if not Kenley Jansen, I think there's some other promising arms that can get it done. But Game 3, the rubber match, Tony Gonsolin on the bump against Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson was a sinker baller. First game that got first earned run for Gonsolin this year, and the first time he did not look crisp. Only 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, only made it through 3 innings, which again taxed the bullpen, which could really be an issue down the line for the rest of the season for us. But I love what Tony Gonsolin did in the 4th inning, and that is going to be our chemistry-changing moment of the series. So Tony Gonsolin, Game 3. It's the bottom of 3. Bases are loaded. There's no out. Tavares started the rally. He's on third. Gonsolin spikes a pitch for a wild pitch. And you're thinking, oh my God, we're going to give up this 4-run lead that we have right now. So it's 1-4 at that point. 0 out. Bases loaded. The dude just spiked one into the dirt. Just spiked one. And he gets an infield pop out for the first out. And then gets back-to-back strikeouts against Gallo and Frazier, the meat of the lineup. And I thought that sealed the deal for this series. I think if you're the Rangers, that has to crush your confidence that you had the meat of your lineup coming up, you had bases loaded, you had no out, and you got 1 run. And then what do the Dodgers do, which they've done a ton this year? They come right back in the top of the 4th and put up a run. And I think that is the hallmark one of the hallmarks, I should say, of this team. When they get scored on, where they cough up a couple runs, they seem to always answer back in the next inning or the inning right after. But typically, it's that very next inning. And I think it's very disheartening for other teams. And I think it shows you how powerful this offense is. They're second in runs behind the San Diego Padres, which, because of the trade deadline, we will get to a little later in the podcast. The stat of the series, 6 for 30 with runners in scoring position. Not pretty. And this team, they can home run their way out of games, and they can home run their way into series wins. And that's great when you're playing the Texas Rangers. And that's great when you're playing the Seattle Mariners, even though they split the Seattle Mariners, or the San Francisco Giants. When it comes time, when there's a man on second and 2 outs, and it's October, you're going to have to figure out how to get that run across. You can't just swing for the fences every time, because the pitching's going to get better. Everything's going to get dissected a little bit more. Those outs are going to be much more precious than just swinging for home runs. So the 6 for 30 is concerning. And I think it could portend to some other things that may bite us in the ass come playoff time. You got to be able to hit for contact. They had some games where they played small, where they didn't just bash home runs, especially in that Giants series, which was incredible. I love shutting them out back-to-back games, but we already talked about that. But we shut out the Giants back-to-back games. Incredible stuff. Anyway, I digress. Get back to contact with runners in scoring position. It's the Texas Rangers. Great. Woohoo. We beat them 2-3. A lot of teams, a lot of good teams, if you're hitting 200 runners in scoring position, you're not going to win games. Luckily, our bullpen got a little bit better besides that Game 1 meltdown. They look good on the whole. It was just that Jake McGee outing killed us. And our Steve Pearce Award, Leody Taveras, who went 4 for 10, 3 runs, 1 home run, and he, of course, as we all watched, robbed Turner of a home run, jumping over the 3.5-foot fence. Woohoo! But he would be your Steve Pearce Award. Steve Pearce Award always goes to the man that outplays the name on the back of the jersey and to try to beat the Dodgers, even the no-name guy that has a large hand in trying to beat the Dodgers. That is our Steve Pearce Award. And I'll probably do the description of the award before I say it rather than doing it backwards. But it's all right. Anyway, so Ross Stripling, traded for 2 players to be named later. That was the only deadline deal the Dodgers made. That was it. They jettisoned him. The team that made a lot of noise, the team that made a lot of changes, the team that made a lot of acquisitions this trade deadline was the San Diego Padres. They grabbed Mike Clevenger, Mitch Moreland, Austin Nola, Jason Castro, Austin Adams, Dan Altavilla, Trevor Rosenthal, and Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams is the current Mariners closer, or no longer the current, was the Mariners closer. Trevor Rosenthal, you probably remember him from his Cardinals days. He was on the Royals pitching really well, coming back from some injuries. And then Clevenger is the star of the show. That's the biggest deal that went down today, and that gives the Padres a bona fide frontline starter to pair with Chris Paddock, because the rest of the starting crew has been a disaster. The bullpen, they needed those arms. They needed Altavilla. They needed Rosenthal. I don't know about Austin Adams. He's a 6.45 career ERA guy, so I'm not getting too excited about him. Jason Castro is a 231 hitter. He's a scrub. Those are filler names. But Clevenger, Moreland, Austin Nola, the catcher, who's hitting right around 280 for his career. He came over from the Mariners as well. I think with Austin Hedges and Francisco Mejia just scuffling at the plate, this gives him a viable offensive catcher to start every day. They're legitimate, and we've talked about that after each of the series against the Padres. They are all in on this year. They kept Mackenzie Gore. They kept Patino. They kept a lot of they didn't give away really any of their treasure trove of prospects to grab these guys, which I think is even more impressive. They're pushing their chips to the center of the table. I thought I wasn't going to say that cliche, but I did. Now we're here, so let's keep going. They scare me. They do. They do. But very little playoff experience. And maybe it helps that you don't know what you don't know in the playoffs as a young baseball team. I still think the Dodgers, talent-wise, are better than them. The lineup you could probably call a wash. They have 205 runs this year. Dodgers have 204. They are potent. Obviously, Tatis, Machado, even Jake Cronenworth's been solid. Eric Hosmer. They got some names out there, and they have a ton of speed, and they're really athletic. A 3-game series, anything can happen. My hope would be the Dodgers wouldn't be matched up against the Padres in that first series. Because that's a team I want to play in a 5-game series rather than a 3. Which now your 5-game series feels like a 7, and your 3 feels like a single game. And we all saw what happened last year. Look, I'm impressed with what A.J. Preller, their general manager, did. They're clearly the second best team in the division. They're 5 games back. They're 21-15, right behind us. They're absolutely going for it, and it's been a long time coming for this franchise. I still think they're a little bit green. Who knows? This is a wild year. It's impressive what they did, pulling the trigger 30 days into the season, essentially, to make all these trades to become I think they obviously already were a legitimate playoff team, but now they have championship aspirations. And I think the only thing that really bothered me about all of that was the Jeff Passan Twitter quote that the National League is wide open. I didn't dig really, really deep back into the Jeff Passan Twitter sphere. I'm pretty sure he probably had multiple articles or statements about how the Dodgers are the favorite in the National League. And it's not to say the Dodgers are guaranteed shoo-in for the World Series. That's not what I'm trying to say. But to say the National League is wide open when you have a team with a plus, the highest run differential, I believe it's plus 81 on the run diff, as they say, if you want to sound cool. Plus 81 on the run diff. The Dodgers have the best record in the majors, and I don't even think they've hit their stride yet. Cody Bellinger, Muncy, we just talked about those guys. Betts looks great. He's hit his stride, but the roster isn't even going yet. Obviously, Turner's out now. So, look, the Padres got to take them seriously. They won the trade deadline. They won the press. They won the PR show. Great for them. They picked up 2 legitimate closers. They picked up a legitimate frontline starter. They picked up Mitch Moreland, who has championship experience with the 2018 Red Sox, a guy that can hit 20 bombs, a former Gold Glove winner. I like what they added. But don't worry about the filler names, hopefully I don't regret this, of Jason Castro, Austin Adams, and Dan Altavilla. Props to them. Still kept Mackenzie Gore, still kept Patino, still kept their top prospects. I would love to see him in October. I do not want to see him in the first round because I don't want to see anyone in the first round. I wish we could just get by. I'm sorry. I know it's not a winning mentality maybe, but with everything we've been through as a fan base, that 3-game series scares the daylights out of me. Let's get to our injuries. So Justin Turner pulled that hamstring. His best case scenario, according to Dave Roberts, is coming back Tuesday to DH, which would be tomorrow against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Walker Buehler threw a 30-pitch bullpen. He came down with a blister. And there's only one player whose name you should think of. when you think of the word blister. And that is Rich Hill, a.k.a. Dick Mountain, who seemed to be out with blisters every other week during his tenure with the Dodgers. So I don't know if maybe he sent Walker Buehler his favorite tuba Bengay or whatever, but they need to get on the horn and figure that out. Could not have Walker Buehler muddling around on the 10-day IL. And you get that guy in the bump, and especially if we're going to go where we want to go in October, Buehler and Kershaw need to look good. Alex Wood still out. He just seems to be lost in space. As are Pedro Baez and Joe Kelly. Dave Roberts even said they're not even close to coming back. Pedro Baez with that groin strain, Joe Kelly with the shoulder. Once Joe Kelly does come back, still got the 5-game suspension. Edwin Rios, his activation's pushed back to next week. But one thing that Justin Turner injury did was it opened up an opportunity for Gavin Lux, who started Saturday and Sunday. He looked really good yesterday, had a single, had a double. I didn't love his one plate appearance. The guy, I believe the batter before him, I think it was Will Smith, got walked in 5 pitches. Will Smith was seeing the ball great as far as batter's eye this weekend, and especially Sunday. That was fun to see. Lux 2 straight balls, and then just leaves the bat on his shoulder for the get me over, gimme pitch. The pitcher's thrown 1 strike in 7 pitches, and that was the ball he should have hit, to be honest. And instead, it's 2-1, and he ends up striking out. Two more strikes later, he's strikeout swinging on a back foot slider. I thought that was just the wrong approach. I think he's looking better. I think he deserves to have at least an opportunity for the next week or two, especially with everything going on with Justin Turner. Throw him in the DH role. The flexibility with the lineups, having Muncy over at third. You can even roll Bellinger into first and keep Lux at second, whatever you want to do. And I think something that also is giving Gavin Lux some more playing time. Chris Taylor batting only 200 in his last 7 games. He's been pretty cold. I love the defense. I love that double play he turned this weekend against the Rangers, but CT3 has been a little icy. Lux only on the Dodgers, maybe the Yankees with Gleyber Torres, Miguel Andujar, not Gleyber Torres. Would you forget about a top 5 prospect in all of baseball who was just sitting at USC because he showed up late and showed up with a crappy attitude? But it shows you what this team is, how good they are. Them activating Lux was minor news, absolutely minor news. Where I think once the Rays activate Wander Franco, whether that is whether they bring him on full time for next year, that'll be a headline news. This team is so good, and the objective is not fanfare for your top prospect. The objective is a championship. It's startling that we just half our fan base just forgot about Gavin Lux, that we had a guy who had an OPS over 1,200 in AAA last year. I know it's AAA, but his ceiling is sky high. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to watch him. Hopefully he's up for the next week or two. Hopefully maybe he just stays up. You never know. But that Justin Turner injury, him popping that hamstring, or not popping, but re-injuring his hamstring, stealing second on Friday night, opened the door for Gavin Lux. And you got to appreciate Max Muncy, the flexibility there to play either infield corner spot. Should make the lineup better. And Lux, I think, is a better bat than Kike Hernandez. Sorry, he cannot have those defensive lapses if he's going to stay on the field. So we head into, today is obviously an off day. And yes, I keep using the retro logos because they look way cooler than most teams' current logos, except for the Dodgers. We have the greatest logo of all time. But I say that neutrally, of course. But a 6:40 start every step of the way. All 3 games in Los Angeles. Julio Urias versus Alex Young tomorrow. Wednesday, you have Kershaw versus a pitcher the Dodgers have seen a lot of this year, and that's TBD. TBD's got some plus stuff. You got to watch out for him. Thursday, 6:40, TBD versus TBD. There's a chance it's Walker Buehler since he was put on the 10-day IL retroactive to August 23rd, so he could be activated for that game. I'm hoping that's where they're going to go Thursday. But we hope to win every series, but if we're going to roll out Urias, Kershaw, Buehler against the Diamondbacks, who just pretty much waved the white flag, traded away Starling Marte to the Marlins, I think that we should absolutely win this series, and especially with those 3 starters we're rolling out there. Julio Urias, he's not in the same boat as Ross Stripling, but he's also been equally underwhelming his last few starts. I'm interested to see how he comes out. Just throw your fastball hard and tell your babysitter, Dave Roberts, to let you in and leave you in and let him figure it out. For all my Laker fans out there, Phil Jackson doesn't call timeouts every time when the team's struggling. You got to leave him out there. You got to let him figure it out. Let Julio Urias figure it out. We have a 5-game cushion. I know the Padres are breathing down our necks, but Urias is never going to get to where his potential is if Dave Roberts keeps babying him. Kershaw, sub-2 ERA, looking good. Knock on wood. Every Kershaw day is a great day. And like I said, we may see Walker Buehler on Thursday. Obviously, Tony Gonsolin now is in the rotation, seemingly full-time with Stripling gone. And I know Ken Gurnick confirmed that with a Dave Roberts quote. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6:40 p.m., every step of the way there. And as always, my friends, thank you for watching. You can find us on YouTube, The Series Sweep. You can find us on Spotify, The Series Sweep. You can find me, Eric Yulo, on Twitter. That is at EEULAU, the same handle on Instagram. Feel free to reach out. Questions, comments, concerns, critiques, constructive or non-constructive. I'm ready for it. Thank you as always for watching. Thank you for the support. Go Dodgers. Share with your friends. Like, subscribe, review. Okay, I'm done with the self-promotion, but I will be seeing you Thursday evening or Friday morning, depending on when this gets uploaded, hopefully by Thursday night. But I'm excited to get to bed early tonight, recharge the batteries, and then get right back into another glorious week of Dodgers baseball. Summertime.